We have here something very helpful, at least to me anyway. We have here, very simply, a magnifying glass. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but this sure helps me sometimes when I'm looking for something. Looking for something written down, and that print just seems to be getting smaller and smaller all the time. But with this, I'm great. There's only one problem. Much of the time, I'm looking in the wrong place. And if you're looking in the wrong place, even my magnifying glass isn't going to help, is it? We have to look in the right place. Now, in our gospel tonight, we just heard, Jesus is at the Last Supper with his disciples. And he reminds them of what is most important for them to remember. He says, I've told you this while I'm with you. The Advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom my Father will send, will teach you everything and remind you of all that I told you. My peace I leave you, my peace I give you. Not as the world gives do I give it to you. So don't let your hearts be troubled or afraid. What Jesus is saying is not only that Holy Spirit, that Advocate, it'll remind them of all that Jesus taught them, but it'll also be there to help when times are tough. It'll be there to help us through the tough times. Now, the apostles had some pretty good reason to be afraid. Jesus had told them what's going to happen to him, that he was going to be crucified, going to be put to death. Now, they were probably pretty worried about what might happen to them. This is what happened to Jesus. What might happen to us? What was going on, really, is that they were probably worried and afraid of the unknown. What might happen? And that's the kind of worry, fear, that sometimes many of us can experience in our own lives. What worries us is what might happen. And Jesus is saying, don't let your hearts be troubled. We have a God that will never abandon us, no matter what happens. He's not saying that there won't be tough times, but we will never be abandoned by our God. Well, maybe an example will help. I've known Frances for about 20 years, and she could always be depended on to be out there at a meeting, gathering of the neighbors, to try and make her neighborhood a better place. She was always trying. And over the years, I visited her at her home. And then I visited her in the hospital. And it was there that she learned that she only had a few months to live. So when I visited her home, she said to me, "Yes, I only have a few months to live, but I'm not dead yet. So don't try and bury me. I'm not dead yet. And I fully intend to treasure and make the most of each day the Lord gives to me. And she had a little deck built on the back of her house, off the kitchen. And all that summer, you can find her out there on that little deck, just really enjoying those summer days. And then I attended her funeral. Francis is a good lesson to us about the strength that God gives us, that Holy Spirit gives us, when we're in the tough times of life. Francis knew where to look. She looked to God for her strength and peace. Trouble is that very often we look in the wrong places. Remember the example of the magnifying glass. If you're looking in the wrong place, no matter what you have, you aren't going to find it. We look in the wrong places for our peace and security. Jesus is saying, I will be there. I will give you the strength when the going is difficult. And that's what Francis did. Maybe another example will help here. Emmanuel lives in the southwest area of our parish. And he tells his teenage sons and daughters, don't be a follower. Don't be a follower, because it can lead you to the wrong places. If you want anybody to follow, you're looking for somebody to follow Jesus. And Emmanuel knows very well what following the wrong people could do to his sons and daughters. They're following the wrong people, they're going to be in the wrong places. And what starts out as something very innocent, in just seconds, can change the whole course of their lives. Something happens, someone pulls out a weapon, fires a gun, and everything's changed. Emmanuel and his family have seen people killed from their front porch. It was that close. You can't look in the wrong place. So now, as we go on and prepare to share in the body and the blood of Christ, let's ask our God to help us remember the good news that Jesus gives in this gospel. The news that our peace and our security rest with God. And the peace that God gives us is not something that the world could give us. It's just not capable of it. So let's stop looking. Let's stop looking in the wrong place. And also, help us to remember what the true peace of God can do for each one of us tonight. And as Father Greg Boyle, a Jesuit priest that visited us last fall, had to say about that peace that God can give us, he said, no fear or worry can remove it No bullet can pierce it. No prison walls can keep it out. And even death can't touch it. The peace that God offers us is just that big.